Bexhill-on-Sea is a charming seaside town located on the southern coast of England, within the county of East Sussex. Renowned for its tranquil atmosphere and beautiful coastal views, the town features a mix of Victorian and Edwardian architecture, reflecting its rich history as a popular holiday destination. With its pleasant beaches, scenic promenades, and a range of local shops and eateries, Bexhill-on-Sea provides a relaxing retreat while maintaining a strong sense of community. 21-year-old Blessing Olusegun was born and raised in Ado-Ekiti in Nigeria before moving to southeast London, England to be with her mother, S.D.D.C. Growing up, Blessing did not have an easy childhood or adolescence. She had been sexually abused and, as a result of the trauma she had suffered, struggled with her mental health. She battled with self-harm and had taken an overdose in 2016, which resulted in flashbacks, but she fought her demons through therapy and found comfort in her family, friends, and her church. Blessing cared very deeply about her family and community and dedicated much of her life to helping others. By September of 2020, Blessing, who was a business student at the time, had successfully obtained a week's live-in carer's placement in Bexhill-on-Sea, simply known as Bexhill to the locals, located around 60 miles away from her home in London. She was taking care of elderly patients with dementia and other mental health issues. Despite the pay being rather average, Blessing used some of her wages to take care of her mother, Esther, and younger brother, Prince. In the wee hours of September 18th, 2020, CCTV footage showed 21-year-old Blessing walking through Bexhill town centre, then under a tunnel towards the sea, and then at a cafe by the harbour which had captured her walking near the beach at around 1 or 1:30 a.m. At around the same time, she was in contact with a close family member and her boyfriend. She had asked them to stay on their phones as she walked alone towards the beach, sending another message minutes later which read, quote, "Never mind." Her final messages were sent at around 1:24 a.m. to her mother, one of which was a bank card PIN code and another which simply read, quote, "I love you." According to her friends, for Blessing to have been walking alone at midnight along the beach was very out of character, but a colleague disputed this and claimed late-night walks were not out of the ordinary for Blessing when she struggled to sleep. It should be noted that, according to reports, no CCTV footage captured any other person walking towards or along the sands that night. Early that morning, Blessing's colleagues at her work placement became concerned when she failed to show up for her shift and tried to contact her next of kin in order to locate her, but were unsuccessful. At 6:20 a.m. on September 18th, 2020, the 21-year-old's body was found by a dog walker on Glyn Gap Beach near Galley Hill in Bexhill, with her phone and shoes lying about 300 metres up the sands from her body, quote, "piled neatly," according to police. According to reports, the tide was out, but Blessing's body was visibly wet. According to news reports, Blessing's mother travelled to Bexhill following news of her daughter's death, only to find the beach empty, with no areas cordoned off by police. She allegedly asked some officers for help in directing her towards where her daughter was found, but despite asking numerous questions, police were unhelpful. According to Body on the Beach, What Happened to Blessing, a 2022 MTV documentary about the case, police quickly ruled out foul play in regards to Blessing's death, due to lack of indication that a third party was involved. There were no obvious injuries to her body, nor any items of clothing torn, therefore did not cordon off the scene as they believed that no crime had been committed. Though one source states that Blessing had broken nails, her face was swollen and her wig was missing. Esther insisted that her daughter never went anywhere without her wig. Some speculate, including a forensic pathologist, that these observations in particular potentially indicated some sort of struggle, either getting out of the water or evading an attacker. Police were of the belief, however, that Blessing's death was most likely an accident, a medical emergency, or a suicide. Despite concerns about Blessing's mental health and her history, she had been in a good place prior to her death. She had been making positive changes in her life and was planning her future. She was looking to forge a new career as a makeup business owner, looked forward to what lay ahead in her relationship with her boyfriend, and she wanted to travel. She had even helped set up a charity to help aid poverty-stricken children back in Nigeria. Her family insist that Blessing would never have taken her own life, despite her mental health struggles as a teenager. Esther Abe told the media, quote, "I know my daughter, and I know how she was at that time. She had difficulties with her mental health, but she was better. I completely do not believe she meant to harm herself on the beach. I think it could either be an accident or third-party involvement." The coroner initially deemed Blessing's cause of death as inconclusive. However, upon further examination during her post-mortem, it was concluded that Blessing had died from drowning, and it was determined that her death was, quote, "unexplained but not suspicious." No forensic evidence or internal or external injuries were found to indicate foul play. In the UK, swimming is a part of the school curriculum, and many children have the opportunity to learn from a young age. However, back in Nigeria, where Blessing grew up, swimming was not something children often learned. Because of this, Blessing could not swim, which made her death by drowning all the more bizarre. Her mother told investigators that because of this, Blessing would not have gone into the sea of her own volition. It is entirely possible, due to the rocky nature of the beach and the fact night had enveloped the town, that Blessing could have fallen and been taken out by the tide. However, there was no evidence to indicate she had sustained a head injury or something similar. Sussex police faced much scrutiny from Blessing's family and the public for not being particularly forthcoming. Even the coroner was not satisfied, questioning why the police had not searched the wider area where the body was found for further clues, not just the immediate vicinity, and why no witness appeals were issued. The coroner also stated that, despite police saying otherwise, third-party involvement could not be categorically ruled out in this particular case. Sadly, water deaths are notoriously difficult to solve, however, as it washes much, if not all, evidence away. From the evidence the coroner did have at the time, including the pathologist's report, all indications pointed towards Blessing being, quote, overwhelmed by the sea, with no third-party involvement. To add insult to injury, Esther was never called in to formally identify her daughter, and despite requesting a second post-mortem out of her own pocket, the request was refused. This, on top of the lack of communication from police in the days following the discovery of Blessing's body, did not help the grieving family, though APC Jones, who worked on the case, did apologise for these numerous failings. Many called for the investigation to be looked into following the disappearance and death of Sarah Everard in March 2021, with many social media users left reeling that Everard's case was receiving nationwide media coverage, whereas Blessing's had, quote, been swept under the rug. Many claimed that police were not investigating Blessing's case thoroughly due to racism and discrimination against people of African heritage. However, these claims were strongly refuted by Sussex police. A Justice for Blessing petition was launched in the hopes that Sussex police would conduct further investigations into Blessing's death, and it received over 70,000 signatures. Many question what happened between 1:24 a.m. when Blessing was last in contact with her family and 6:20 a.m. when her body was discovered. Many find it hard to believe that her body lay there unseen for 5 hours. These were just some of the many questions that Blessing's loved ones wanted answers to. The coroner's inquest into Blessing's death took place in May of 2022 in Hastings, where evidence and testimony were presented by investigators and those who knew the 21-year-old. Ultimately, it was determined by the coroner that Blessing had died as a result of accidental drowning. It was determined that no crime had been committed, something which left Blessing's family and friends torn. Following the inquest's findings, the 21-year-old's friend and colleague Christina Sofalabo paid tribute, quote, "Her name is Blessing for a reason. She shined so much light into all our lives. She was the most kind, loyal, beautiful, amazing, God-fearing, enigmatic young woman we ever had a pleasure to be around. We want the world to come together to help us find out what happened to our Blessing. We want to find out how she died." Even after the official findings were given, Blessing's loved ones continue to wonder what truly happened on the night she died. Did she accidentally end up in the sea and drown, or did something else occur? Unfortunately, without any evidence, it seems unlikely that we will ever know what happened in Blessing's final moments or how she met her untimely demise.